And I'm live. Hey guys, Cassie here. Very excited to be comping with you today. Few minute delay. We have some technical difficulties going on. If you've been watching with me every week, you'll know that we are in the middle of trying to kind of ramp up our studio equipment. We're changing things around and getting some different additional studio space, as well as really working on trying to get fiber optic line installed. So we have some really great things coming up, but I don't know if y'all have been through this, and if you haven't, let me just tell you little tips and tricks here. It is a lot of times when like you're moving things over. there's just like, oh, it's just like building a house, man. There's a lot of infrastructure that goes to this, and as always, I appreciate the people that are smarter than me on my team when it comes to this stuff. But we are just dealing with technical difficulties here and there. So I apologize for being a couple of minutes late. I'm very excited to be here with you. Hi, Joey. Good to see you, sir. I'm very excited to be here, and we can get some comps started. So as you guys know, I can just pick properties to comp for you, but I can also comp your properties. So if you submit them on here, I will get to comping your properties live. That's the whole point of this, to go over some principles, some basics. I don't have my moderator with me today. I don't think he just left the room because of said technical difficulties and things like that. So if you leave them in the comments, I will get to them as quickly as possible. I'm just going to start writing them down on a notepad over here while I can. One of the biggest things for me while comping live is if you guys give me as much information as possible instead of just a property address, I can take it a little bit further in the analysis rather than just comping for a flip is what I'm going to assume. It just depends on the property. So there's just a lot of basics and principles we went over in the first couple episodes. But look, we're nationwide. I show, all of the tools that we use. We use batch leads. They have an amazing comping tool. It's really great. We use batch for everything. And for the most part, it's just right there, all in one tool. So it's a fantastic tool in and of itself. But for it to be there all in one system, we highly recommend that. But we also use PropStream. I personally am kind of I comp a little bit faster on PropStream, but there's places that we do market where I have trouble pulling comps on PropStream. Sorry, there's a fly in here named Carlos. And I'm fast at pulling comps. PropStream, my favorite thing about it is comps. And so we utilize that. There are places that we do purchase, sell real estate that we are, and wholesale real estate, that we can only get comps on PropStream so far. Anchorage, Alaska had always been one of those places. Iowa for a long time, but I believe the last time I tested, we were able to get property comps on batch in certain places in Iowa. And we use Propelio for a lot of things too. There's certain navigational things that I like about Propelio that make it amazing for me. And so, as you guys know, we, being that we're so nationwide, we have Titanium Titans in the house here on the feed already, that, we're verifying numbers for them and helping them learn and grow along the way and, ramp up their business. So we're just really all over the country. I mean, I look at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of properties a week. So one of the things that's just always kind of gotten to me about this, this situation is there's just not a lot of great tools out there, resources, I guess, for people to learn how to actually utilize the tools and actually utilize the comps and actually put a number. I am a licensed agent here in the state of Texas. I've been doing this a lot of years. For those of you who aren't, in our community, maybe new here. And so I think it's just really important to dig into comps. It's very useful to help people pull comps where they can see it live. So I do try to, actually dig into it and not just speed through the comps and so on and so forth. And then also it is slowed down a little bit when you're teaching, and pointing different things out and comparing and contrasting the tools in and of themselves that we use. So bear with me. If you send in a property and I don't happen to see it because it got buried in the feed for some reason and I didn't get to it, add me on social media, and if you haven't already, and send me the property. I'm happy to comp. It's such an important principle and an important thing to master in your business, no matter what you're involved in real estate. It's the beginning of everything. If you don't comp right, you don't make the money that you're doing everything else that you're doing for. So for me, it is something that I'm really adamant about. Our students, our team, I literally have a template that I make them use, telling me what are these answers? What kind of condition is it in? Is it occupied? How long has it not been occupied? If it's vacant, if it has a tenant, what are they paying? How long do they live there? What's the rent rate? Things like that. What's the basic condition of the property? So I have a basic idea of rehab, and a lot of people get hung up on what that rehab should be. If you have a general idea of the condition of the property, a lot of times that's not going to affect the numbers as much if you have basics. A lot of times people will sit here on the front end on the acquisition of a property, and they are, really, really like, I don't know if I should put 133 or 135 on this. And it's like, that doesn't make that big of a difference, as far as the acquisition price that you're going to like lock it up at. So, Kip, you are such a doll. Look at you. Blake, good afternoon. I do not mind comping 2227 Corning Road. So that'll be the first one I dig into, and I'm happy to do it. And I love it with the asking price. Holler at me in the feed if you have a basic idea of the condition. Is it good? Is it scary? Needs rehab? Owner occupied? Tenant occupied? Any information that you have like that will actually help me to understand the analysis of the deal. And I'm so happy to analyze deals on here with you guys. However, when we're just talking about comping, when I just have an address and an asking price, it's kind of hard for me to tell if their asking is too high, right? So I will go into Street View and everything like that. But if you give me more information, I can give you better answers. And that's what I tell everybody. Kip, it's so good to see you here. Carlos the Fly, it has joined us. Our dear friend, Carlos the Fly. He's back in action. RJ actually said that he's been flying around here. He's like, hey, Elijah, if you can Mr. Miyagi that out of the air, that'd be great. That's going to drive Cassie crazy when she's on the live because, I'm a little ADD. I got a little ADD. Comp and Cassie. Facebook user, if you subscribe is not the right word, but if you register with StreamYard, I can actually see who you are when you make those comments, but I appreciate you being here. And Kip is, adding to my coffee fund. Kip, it's just been way too long since I've seen you, buddy. Too long. House is vacant, needs a cosmetic rehab, but has some termite damage. Cool. So active termites versus termite damage, we'll see. I'll put a general number on it, and I just want to make sure. Hi, Angie. Good to see you, honey. I know a few Angies and have a couple of students named Angie, so but good to see you, no matter which Angie you are that I know. All right, so we'll dig into this. Just so you guys know, if I don't hear you pop in, I'm probably not going to go on the feed. I'm probably not going to go past like an hour. We do have a crucible coming up this week, and we've got a lot of amazing things going on, as well as we have our annual charity golf tournament on Monday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday are bananas for us, and we're just trying to prep. And we've had a lot of things going on. If you guys didn't check out RJ's live earlier on Batch TV, he goes live every week on Batch TV, as well as he went live with Aaron regarding the Closers Olympics, which I'm sadly not going to get to compete in because my uncle is getting married on one of those days. And I'm very sad because I really wanted to represent the ladies in our space, the lady closers, but Lauren is in there to represent the queens in our space, the queen closers. So I'm very excited to see the results of that. But unfortunately, my guy is going to bring home that belt. So she's going to have to settle for second or whatever. That's the order of which I am rooting. So Matt Smith, it's good to see you. For those of you guys who were on our first episode here, Matt was with us and he brought a property and I could not find it on any of our tools. And so he messaged me in my inbox afterwards, and it turned out it's McCook. So MCCOOK, and there's no space, but on all of the tools, for some reason, it would only pull up the address if you put a space between the MC and the cook. So I had to comp that offline for him. I'm happy to even comp that live again. But I comped it offline. So just a testament that if you are not friends with me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, things like that, and you're new to me or this channel, add me and spell my name right. That's how you spell my name. It's right there on the screen. And I'm happy to comp. I probably will even do it live in the next week if I don't get to it. But I don't want you guys to have to wait on that for verification and things like that. That's what this channel is for. It's here to be a resource for you. And speaking of which, hi, Melody. It's so good to see you. It's been a million years. I hope you're coming on Monday to the golf tournament. You come every year, so I'd be very sad to not see you there. So that being said, I am going to go ahead and get digging into this property here in Columbia, South Carolina for Blake. And we'll get to comping. Oops. It's also really weird for me. RJ had something on in the other part of the room that I can kind of barely hear myself. And it's so funny, the things that will mess with me when I'm like going live. So you guys just have to be patient with me. Corning Road. As I explained last week, it's so funny because, people expect us to be like, perfect. They expect us to not have gaps and pauses and things like that. And I just want to go ahead and throw a disclaimer out there. I am here for you guys to be a resource for your learning, for your verification. Oh, cute. There are going to be times when I am not perfect and I have gaps, and maybe it's hard for you to follow. That's okay, because you get access to me for free. So these are the tools that I'm using to answer your question, Kip. We do have discount codes for all of these, for those of you wondering. And so I'm just going to pull it up, at least on this first one for you guys. On on all three platforms. And again, now you guys are kind of understanding why when we're streaming, I am after today, I promise, I've been saying this for 2 weeks. After today, those fiber lines should be rocking and rolling for us, to my understanding, by the grace of God and our amazing team out there that works on all the amazing things they work on for us. Elijah, the guys, we got Cruz and Royce helping with all kinds of stuff like that. So everybody's just kind of like chipping in, and this really should go faster, which will make me better, I promise, because I get very distracted when things take a minute to pop up. I'm like, I've got to fill the space. And so I might just sing to you. I might just, fill it with random thoughts that are going through my head 8 million miles a minute while things pull up. And I will let that pull up slowly and surely. And we will get to comping. Okay. So the difference between all three of these tools, I, again, tend to go to PropStream because I'm just used to it. That's a personal, I'm a little bit faster on it. RJ's going to get mad at me saying PropStream. I didn't say his favorite program was PropStream. RJ prefers Propelio. And I have gone over a couple of these things. By saying prefers Propelio, I want to clarify this because on our first episode here, when I said I don't really recommend comping on Zillow so much, I wish I had written it down for today. We found a perfect example. We find examples all the time. I'll write some down and kind of show you guys on one of these episodes the reason why I don't necessarily recommend it. There are many markets that we come across where Zillow's comps are very far off. Okay. And I'm not talking about the Zestimate. Okay. We all know that's an algorithm. We all know you got to actually comp to comp, right? I am talking about the actual comps in and of themselves. So I'm going to make sure and make a note of writing down. You guys need to know what to look for. The same basic principles apply here, no matter where you're comping. I happen to know the owners of these companies. I happen to know how they were built. I happen to know where they're pulling from. I happen to have split tested this against each other and in all these markets for years and years and years and years. They're all excellent tools. We do use all of them. That is a fact. Your business might not have a need for all of them. And that's, why a lot of times people will ask, which one do we choose? Which one do we pick the most? Well, it's batch leads because we do everything else in batch, right? And it's right there. And it's a phenomenal comping tool. It's the youngest one of all of this. So when it first came out, sometimes people were just like, I'm not saying, well, you've got to understand what they have to go through to get these comps nationwide, right? And so I watched Propelio do that. Propelio is an amazing tool. I'm going to show you guys how we use all three of them. Personally, for me, I'm just a little bit faster on PropStream. RJ's a little bit faster on Propelio, and Batch, we're about equally as fast. So it's not really that we prefer one over the other. And if we have to answer, it's going to be Batch because it makes more sense because we're already marketing in there and it's like, boom. That's just my answer on that. But I love all of these platforms and we use all of them. They're all excellent tools. So I want you guys to always be cognizant of how to utilize the tools. How you utilize them is essentially the same. It's really how the platform is designed. And I'm really big on getting these defaults. You'll see the defaults right here, side by side by side. Okay. The defaults are different. So if you're seeing different comps and you happen to have two of these platforms and they're not coming out the same, well, adjust your defaults. You know what I'm saying? I said from my own self, get my likes up, aka I have not seen Robert Blaine. He's my moderator and my biggest fan. And Jordan, I cannot wait to see you. And it is time for some comping. Send them in, Bubba. You hit like on all 6 computers in the office. God, I love you, Kip. And you donated to my coffee fund, which I also love. All right, guys. So back to this. I want you guys to really focus. I have gone over this in the first couple of episodes. Focus on your defaults, okay? You've got to know what you're looking at. I don't really like to cross major roads. I don't like to see how this tool goes like this. This is one of the things I'm putting in a request for. I don't like to cross major roads, so I'm not going to comp anything over here, even if it is within the mile. When I have all these beautiful little babies sitting right here, okay. I don't necessarily, if we have to like zoom in and see where we are, I've got to clear this little marker. Sorry. I don't like to cross majors. We've got to zoom in and see where we are because we see that there's commercial over here. We got to make sure and see how those maps just like look a little bit different. Well, Propelio's default settings are very broad, okay? The default settings are different. If you hit set default, it goes very niche with bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage year built, so on and so forth, and showing additional criteria. The way that I prefer to pull comps is I like to go broad in the beginning. I like to do a year of data, and I'm trying to get properties that are the closest to me. I like to do it in order of distance. And RJ just likes to do it right off of this map, right? He likes to look at this, okay? And I don't really blame him. I can do it like this too. You know, it's just I'm a little tiny bit slower and he's a little tiny bit faster doing this. A really good analogy for this is when I type, I use my fingers like this. When RJ types, he uses fingers like this. He types nearly as fast as me. It's just a preference. I don't know how much slower I would be if I type like this, but that's how he typed faster. He used to type with all 10 digits, but it's just an example. So I want you guys to understand Robert Blaine donating to my coffee. Uh-oh. We have a battle royale on who my biggest fan is, Kip or Robert. I'm buying all the Starbucks later. I love it, and thank you guys. Excuse me. The fly. Carlos, go away. Facebook user, I love your face. I don't know who you are. Is that you again, Angie? Or is this a new one? If you don't register, that's all I can see. So when you say this, I do not know what that means. Love you, mean it, but give me some more info. Okay, so we're going to get back to Blake's properties. Basically, what you want to do is you want to be cognizant of the fact that you have no square footage in here, okay? I don't really want to go that broad. The reason I like going broad first is because I like to see what the market cap is, okay? I don't see anything over like 260 in here, okay? So I know what the market cap is, and I do like looking at that first. So that is one thing I do like about the navigation of Propelio is like I don't have to back out and then enter in more criteria. But I see a lot of people making the mistake of they will just start going and considering these comps. And it's like, oh, no, honey. You've got 1,000 square foot property. I mean, I will sometimes start at 1,500 or 500 over and 500 under. I don't really do 500 under if the property isn't getting up to the like 1,700 plus square footage range. Because I mean, how many 400 square foot properties are we really going to be comping here? So it's kind of pointless, right? So when I entered in 1,500, even though I've got 1025, I've still got a lot of these comps. So that's a really good sign that I'm seeing right there. And then I'm actually just going to go back to 1,400 here. And we're just going to look. And I'm just trying to give you like comprehensive understanding of what my actual comps are. So I'm guessing that this is going to be an as is. It's a little bit smaller. This is one of the things that I love about this. Look at how cute that is on the inside. It just needs a little bit of love on the outside, doesn't it? So we kind of know what we're dealing with there, which is really interesting. And honestly, I kind of did fail to mention that one of the things that I like to do first and foremost is go to the street view of our property. We're going to just let that pull up. And we're going to go over here. So I just want you guys to see kind of the differences in the tools while that's taking a second to pull up. But I do love to look at that street view immediately. One of the things that I really love also is when you can go into the property details or the MLS details and you can see what happened here, right? To answer your question right out of the gates, Blake, $100,000 is very clearly not too high of an asking price. They just closed on this property this month. What happened? Well, I mean, I guess maybe considering that I should retract that statement. Obviously, something is not right because they've owned it for like less than 2 weeks. So let's try to look at this mortgage and transaction history. Deed of distribution, Columbia, South Carolina. I am wondering. This is very interesting. Stanley Davis did a quit claim deed to Natasha in 2019. Obviously, something was wrong there. And then in 2020, again, a deed of distribution, which is real odd. And then Natasha is still the owner of record. I mean, it might not be. We're going to have to maybe dig into that. It's kind of interesting. Point being, I'm a little perplexed about the situation there. That is something I will just let you guys know. I would be heavily asking the seller about. You know what I'm saying? So this baby needs some love. This baby needs some love. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to go and adjust our defaults. One of the things I do love to also do, this is automatic in PropStream, is that this is listed automatically in order of distance. You can change it by list price, yada, yada, yada. But look at all these comps in that range. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of crazy, but it doesn't deal with year build. So you want to go verify that. Lot size, pretty standard across the board. You're looking for something that sticks out, okay? I do like to keep it in order of distance. I do want you to learn to comp like an appraiser, right? So an appraiser is going to look for the like and kind properties that are similar to ours, which is one of the reasons I like going to that Google map view. But here, you have, excuse me, you had the photos from the listing right up there, so you kind of knew what it looked like from the outside. Oh, sorry, I had to get a drink of water. You kind of knew what it looked like from the outside. And we've got a situation here where I am assuming like there's something wrong with this property. This is probably needing that TLC outside, like I had mentioned. Maybe this one, I think your top of your market is probably not going to be these. So you've got to figure out why these are selling higher. And then you've got the low, mid, high. So when you've got low, mid, high, you've got to assume you're in an eclectic area, okay? You've got to assume when you see the build years are the same, you know, they don't have like a new neighborhood that's selling a lot higher for new construction. If the build years are about the same, you've got to assume you're somewhere in Columbia that's like kind of near a downtown area. You got to want to look into those things, but you got to figure out why you have that low, mid, high, right? Obviously, the high is going to be remodeled and flipped properties, but sometimes those mid-range properties might look like they're completely updated and stuff too, and you've got to kind of determine what one is closest to your property. You've got to actually choose your comps, and you've got to actually choose the ones that an appraiser is going to use. A lot of times people get like literally super upset, as if an appraiser or somebody, like even me, sometimes people are like, you'd be turning down my deals. And it's like, no, I'm actually just saying, if you put $20,000 into this property, this is what you're going to be able to list it for and realistically get it appraised for, or in that range. You know, you have an unrealistic number on this, just because you can choose a property right here. And this is going to be a good example, Blake. Just because you can choose a property here that says you can sell a property within half a mile for $200,000 and near square footage range, that doesn't mean that's what you have the ability to create. So what we call it around here is we're looking for a blueprint property, right? And that's how you're going to run the numbers on this. From what I'm seeing, this property probably isn't, in a, some of these that are selling for like 13,000, we can go look at the street view. They might be like on the wrong side of the train tracks right there or something, where it's, commercial, or it's a bad side of the neighborhood. Here in Fort Worth, it's like the difference between west of Camp Bowie and east of Camp Bowie. You have like super high dollar homes and neighborhoods on this side, and then you've got a lot of really cool commercial spots and businesses, and then on the other side you have an area that has not been, it hasn't hit, it hasn't come up, it hasn't been remodeled, the homes are older, and it's not the nicest neighborhood, and it's a little bit unsafe to be walking down there after dark. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be aware of, is that the dividing factor? And just figure out why. When I look at 100,000, I see a window unit is the first thing I see. I don't see the interior photos yet, but I'm assuming with the damage that you said, that this needs to be a remodel. So I'm saying you've got 1,000 square feet. You're going to run the numbers roughly. And you're going to have like $100,000 spread for holding and closing costs, right? So let's just make a quick assumption that you're going to have to put $35,000 in this property to make it look like whatever we find here as our blueprint property, okay? So let's say we want our blueprint property to be this one on Huron, and it's $200,000, right? So you have a $200,000 list price after you remodel it for $35,000. You have holding cost and you have closing cost. I mean, this looks like this looks like something we could turn our property into. Does it not? When I'm looking at the photos here, this does not seem unrealistic. I mean, we've got a deck we might have to add, but I don't hate it. It's got 2 bedrooms. Square footage is right. A lot of the times in areas like this, you want to see if it has a finished out basement. What are we dealing with garages? Does this have a detached garage and things like that? But this is clearly very well remodeled. Doesn't look weird compared to our property on the outside. Like, that seems doable. We can look at the street view of it. I mean, I don't hate that for a comp. So let's just say we are correct and we find that all of our comps right around 200 look like this, right? And you've got to do $35,000 worth of repairs and remodeling. And you want to know, is $100,000 too much for that property? My answer is probably. And here's why I say that. Because you can't miss. You can't go over budget, right? You've got to make that property look like these two properties right here in order for that to work. You've got to make sure. Wish I could see more photos of that one. You've got to make sure that you have enough room for closing costs, holding costs. You cannot go over that $35,000 budget. So it really just depends on what your exit strategy is. As a flipper, I would not likely buy that for 100,000 with what you told me anyways. And the reason for that being, I do think the ARV is right around that $200,000 mark. And it needs a cosmetic rehab, which I'm going to say is going to be roughly $25,000. It has a window unit in it. So that's more than cosmetic to me. And you've got termite damage and you're going to have to paint the outside. And what situation is the roof in and so on and so forth. I think 100,000 is too much for that. I think you'll probably end up spending more than $35,000. When I come back and look at here, I mean, you got to give yourself some, few grand for closing and holding costs at least. It's tight, in my opinion. And I'm just looking to see what our garage situation might be. But I do think that it's not very far off. You know what I mean? What I can kind of do is just pull up a quick calculation and tell you what I think our offer would be. Which you'll have to be patient with me for a second just because I am not on my computer. I am on RJ's computer and I got to make sure it's even on this G drive. It's not on this G drive. Let's go to a different G drive. Let's go to this one. I know it's here. All right. And yeah, I mean, I can kind of just tell you what I would assume. And you can tell me, hey, actually, I have a confirmed rehab number, or my exit strategy isn't to flip it, it's to turn it into a rental, yada, yada, yada. And I can kind of tell you what I think about that. But I do believe, oftentimes I'll verify this rent rate. I go and look at live rental comps on Zillow because I explained in another episode. People tend to list as landlords their properties on Zillow a lot. So it's good active comps for rentals. So you can see what rents are going for there. That's the main thing, guys. Like while you're waiting for me for like 2 shakes, that's the main thing that I end up utilizing Zillow for, to be honest with you. And then sometimes I will end up going, you know how I do the Google Street View and I check that out. I will go in there to look for like old photos, but I usually go off of Google. I find a lot of good old listing photos when they don't pop up on like right here on realtor.com and Redfin and stuff like that. Okay. So assuming this is only a $35,000 repair and that we've got these $200,000 comps are verified. This is probably new construction right here, so I'm not even going to consider it. I've got this right here. I've got this right here that we verified. I will look into this one a little bit more to go back to the comps for you guys. Assuming like you were going to purchase this as a flipper, I would think that you would want to purchase it for probably no more than 105. But you would have to make sure that that actual number, like if I'm buying this to flip this, you would have to make sure that that rehab number doesn't go over, 35, because that's no fun. So if I'm purchasing this at 105 as a flipper, there's a healthy profit percentage, but the reason that I'm like assuming like you're going to make about 18% profit. But with things like termites and stuff like that, the active versus old termite damage and things like that, assuming that we have at least a new HVAC system to put in there that's going to be like $3,500. If you're going to need to paint the exterior and things like that to make it look just clean and beautiful like these other properties. This one isn't all brick, so I'm not super mad about I'm back on here. I'm not super mad about this still remaining a comp. This actually sold a little bit higher, but I'm kind of concerned about it being newer. So I just want to double check on those. Yeah. That one's newer. We don't want to use that one necessarily. So that's a little concerning as well. So when it comes to those numbers, going back to it, I think it's very important that if you buy this anywhere close as a flip around 100, you've got to be 100% sure. I think the max you can offer on it with a $35,000 repair budget is going to be 105, but you've got to be very careful about some of those things I'm saying, and it's more than just interior cosmetics. So speaking of that, I want to say thank you, Melody, for tuning in. I do like to use multiple sources for my comps. I think the more data I have to make wise decisions, the better. It's beyond principles for me. So I want to see, and I do dig into the houses themselves, and I think that's very important. So going back to it, a blueprint property is very important, right? I didn't love that last property, did not do my data any good because it sold for $220 and I wanted to use that as a comp. I don't really want to use that as a comp anymore, right? So that makes me feel like 200, I've only got a couple of comps. When you're looking for what something is going to appraise at, they've got to have at least 3. They prefer to have 6 properties. And again, going back to appraisals, if this property does not have a garage, right? And our subject property does, our subject property gets, if it's sold at 200, it'll get a reduction on the appraisal and drop it down to like 190 or something like that, Same thing with pools, bedrooms, square footage. So those are the things that are important. It's not that they can't be used at comps and not as comps. And that's a lot of times the questions that we get. We have to verify, like, okay, I've got 2 properties sitting at 200,000. Do we have a garage? It doesn't look like it from what I pulled up on PropStream. I need to go try to look in the street view and sneak back there and see if I can see anything. Does it have a finished out basement? Does it have a pool? do our comps have those things? Because that comp is no longer 200,000 unless you add those things into your repairs. So one way or another, it's going to affect your numbers. That doesn't mean it's not a comp, but you have to understand how it's going to affect how you're running your numbers. So that's where a lot of times people really mess up. Or a lot of times people will ask me, well, what are the addresses you used for comps? Well, that's not a comp. It's 2 stories. And it's like, it's totally a comp. And here's why. I have to, shimmy and shake it. An appraiser can use that if that's what you're left with. Now, you don't want to go picking and cherry picking comps that when you've got literal blueprint comps. You want to stick with your blueprint comps first and foremost. But numbers are numbers. An appraisal adds and subtracts things. So as a flipper, that's what I'm looking for. The closest that are the most like in kind, the most comparable. That's how comps are. So hi, Bernard. I'm so happy that you are here. You had a really good question for me. How do you estimate your repairs? That's a really good question with a really long answer. How I estimate my repairs is the things going on in between these ears have done a lot of repair estimates. We used to own a general contracting business. I usually throw a general number at it, and here's why. That's going to be verified through the process. So up front, when I'm throwing numbers on something, if this is a $40,000 repair budget, how much does that affect my numbers? And I go calculate it. I'm trying to say, if I buy this as a flipper at 105 and my repair budget's actually 35,000 and something goes wrong and it ends up being 40,000, I still have a great profit margin on that. I still can make 30,000 instead of 35 on this flip, and that would stink. But sometimes when I'm doing a rehab, I can go ahead and save money on something else by finding a great deal on a material. So this whole entire process, I really don't trip too hard on those numbers up front. I throw a very well-educated guess at it is the best way that I can tell you. It's usually going to be about $25 a square foot for interior cosmetics. If it needs a paint job on the outside, I might throw, just depending on how big the outside of the house is, if it's 1 story or 2 story. I kind of know what HVAC costs, a little curb appeal, a little, I still own a roofing company, so I know how much roofs kind of generally cost. And from what I know about this, that's why I say 35 might be a little bit tight. So let's see. Is it safe to say I can't count homes as comps that have vinyl siding instead of brick? That is not an accurate statement everywhere. It is not safe for you to say that. And the reason why is because vinyl siding is actually not necessarily better than brick. It's not necessarily worse than brick. As you can see, the house number 11, was it? Here in the Oakhurst subdivision. The one that was built, house 12, excuse me. Built in 2003, had vinyl, had like a brick base with partially vinyl siding, or maybe it was hardy board siding. I don't really know. I don't, because it's not too entirely important. You just, that house sold for more, but it's also newer. It's not as inexpensive a material, but that one thing isn't going to make or break it. You are looking for, is that a common thing? In some areas, it will matter. If you are in a historic area, a lot of times people don't want to see your brick house. They want that, that wood siding. You know what I'm saying? Bernard asks, what is your offer calculation formula? I joined in late. People ask me this a lot as well. I like to calculate in multiple ways. I like to first and foremost do a quick calculator, depending on the market. I always start at 70% of the ARV minus repairs. for an MAO. I will never not start a quick calculation that way because I just built this silly little calculator on Excel 100 years ago. Not 100 years. I get that from RJ's mom, Donna. If you're watching, hello. She always said everything's 100 years ago. So I built that 100 years ago, and I still use it to this day. The team uses it this day. I put another quick calculator on it to generally calculate profit in an all-in number. So I just tweak it from there based on market knowledge. A lot of times I just use common sense as a flipper and a landlord of many years, as a contractor of many years. You know, I don't want to do $100,000 rehab to profit 20 grand. Sorry. I'm not that those numbers don't add up for me. You know, so I calculate based on profit. I calculate it based on would I buy this property? Would I do this project? You know, each and every one looks different. A really good example for us, if you guys don't know of any other comps, maybe I will pull this up. But a really good example for us is that we have a property that one of our Titans got under contract, and it's in New Orleans, and it's very close to Bourbon Street. And I think there are multiple exit strategies on this. So I run numbers based on what the best bottom dollar is. I consider things like time and risk when there's multiple exit strategies. This particular property in New Orleans is a great example. You could put a very little amount of money into it and keep it as a rental and apply an exit strategy different later. You could try to seller finance it. You could literally flip it and have a much higher ARV, be a great flip. It's just right there in the perfect spot to also be a fantastic Airbnb, which it depends on who buys this property, what numbers go on it. It has options for everything. So what I always just try to do when I'm analyzing is put a very good number on it. And I run the numbers for multiple exit strategies, which means your ARV looks different based on how much money you put into the property. So if it's everybody goes towards these, you know, what is your calculation that you apply? Well, it depends on what the exit strategy is. My ARV is going to look different if we're looking at a $10,000 repair budget versus a $40,000 repair budget. So that's why I say a lot of times, if you give me the actual details of the property, I can tell you what I think the best exit strategy is, the best bottom dollar. You know, another really great example of this is we have a property that we actually wholesaled in Pennsylvania, and I almost had a panic attack on it, right? So these things are very important in your business, regardless if you're flipping, you're buying, you're an agent, you're whoever you are, if you're a lender, if you're a wholesaler, no matter what, it's understanding the process and knowing the numbers. So we ran numbers on this, and there's, you know, a couple of potential strategies you could go with. You could put a little less rehab into it, still list it, and it gets you a good return. You put a little bit more work and a little bit more rehab into it, you're going to have a better return. Both of those are flips. And I looked at that when I analyzed the property right out of the gates. But we wholesaled it, and God bless them, the buyer was thinking that they were going to be able to include it was just an accident on their part, to be honest. It wasn't malicious, but they were like, we're going to finish out the basement and we're going to add a third story. This is a row house. Okay. We're going to add a third story, and God bless their heart, they were including the basement as like normal livable square footage. And when they comped it, thinking that this was the plan, they thought that the ARV was going to be $100,000 higher because they included 600 some odd square feet of basement as like the normal livable square footage when they comped it. And the way that the comps are on the MLS there, that's not how they're listed. So they needed to be comping with a 1,500 square foot property, not a 2,100 square foot property. So God bless their hearts, they had to go back to the drawing board and rewrite their entire rehab plan so that they could make sense of that, right? It's still a great property at a great price, but you just have to really understand what you're doing and what you're comping in order to have like a successful, profitable exit, regardless of what the exit is. So like I was saying, Bernard, I run numbers based on, what do the comps tell me? What is the rehab plan? What is the exit strategy? And I adjust. So I always start out with a basic, but like here in DFW, you're crazy if you're trying to tell me that you can't sell something that's 70% of the ARV minus repairs. I mean, you can't still, even though it's slowed down a little bit on these crazy over appraisal closings that you're getting. We're getting higher appraisals. We're getting, all these things. I mean, people are buying stuff and I'm just like, not for me. I'll wait. I want to flip like in my backyard really bad, even though RJ's probably going to give me the evil eye from over there because I like to do it. It makes me happy. But I'm going to wait. If I'm not buying something to hold, I definitely am going to wait a little bit, and I'm fine moving slow on the flips because I'm just being honest with you. I don't have to do it. And we've got several other businesses that we can work within, and I just feel like people are asking astronomical things where I'm running it and I'm like, my profit is not like my time is worth more than that. There's a better way for me to make money. But these people are just buying insane. So what that tells me is if I put good numbers on something, I can sell it in my sleep. So that's what I do. No matter what, if you put good numbers on anything in today's market in DFW, you can sell it in your sleep. It's hardly even work anymore. But if you don't put good numbers on anything, you're always going to have a hard time with it. Or if you're trying to squeeze everything that you can get out of a property, you're always going to have a hard time with it. So, oh my darlings, I don't know what this Facebook user 7709922 is that. I don't really know what that meant, and you didn't reply, so I'm just gonna move on. I'll dig into this a little bit more for you, Blake, since you're looking at this. I don't know what your exit strategy is. Are you trying to wholesale this, purchase it, flip it, turn it into a rental? What's your situation there? What are you looking to do with this property? Because I mean, I really do feel like it is feasible and it's close. Again, I want to go looking on Google right here. I can't believe none of you Titans on here watching, or did y'all start answering phone numbers? Oh, we got one. We got one in Wilmington, Delaware. Good condition. Owner is a contractor and he said he put quite a bit of work in the house. Awesome. Okay. Before I get to that one, Justin, what I am going to do here is I already did that. I want to see one photo. I wanted to see if there was perhaps any other photos of the inside lingering around. Sometimes you'll find them lingering around in certain places. On realtor.com is my most common one that I see them on, but it doesn't look like there is. Which, again, you told me it needs cosmetics. So whatever your strategy is there, I would say you're close. I don't think this would make a good a good rental in Columbia necessarily. I'm guessing based on my market knowledge, I haven't sold or wholesaled a lot of rental properties there. We've got some good friends of ours that are heavily involved in this area. They could verify this for me, but I would say they want at least to be all in it and have a 1% rental in Columbia. So I would not think if this rent rate checks out on Zillow that it would work for a buy and hold investor. But boom, this is why I always go to Zillow for these things, guys. And I apologize. It just throws me off a little bit when it takes a minute to pull up. That's moving just a little slow. I mean, I don't actually feel sorry, but I hate that you guys have to wait. But that should be fixed by next week, I'm guessing. So this is kind of how I go for it, right? Hopefully it'll zoom in there for me one of these days. So I don't have to go find it on the map. There we go. So you see how I did that? It went in slow motion for you, so hopefully you saw it. So I would go and verify active listings for rent. I mean, this is kind of a no-brainer that algorithm right here does not seem accurate to me. When we've got a house very close to this, it's a 3, 1.5. Okay. Well, you saw it before the computer decided to skits out. So like, that might actually be a good potential rental. So you might be able to do 100, but depends on what all you would have to put on it to get it rented out. I'm assuming you're still going to need to do the HVAC and some of the cosmetics, but your rehab, it might be a really good potential other exit strategy. I'm primarily wholesaling hi Sean, by the way, primarily wholesaling. What is your take on the accuracy of comping on PropStream? Would you recommend any other system? Well, Sean, it's good to have you here. You clearly just joined us and you're new. So I will tell you, we are nationwide. We do real estate all over the country, all 49 of the 50 states that we like. The one left is Utah right now. We'll talk about that at another time. But we comp properties everywhere. We use all 3 tools that I have pulled up right here on the screen, which are Batch Leads has an amazing comping tool. We love that one because it's right there. It works amazing. But we still also use PropStream and Propelio. We utilize all 3 tools. You can look back on a couple of my other episodes or keep tuning in every Wednesday with me at 3 Central Standard Time, because I'm going to go in here. I'm going to show you the comping principles that I like to teach and focus in on. We utilize all 3 of them. It depends on what your business model is or what you're trying to do with it. They all have their own bonuses, in my opinion, and they're all great products, in my opinion. So if you are only in a certain market, that might help me determine on which one I would recommend if you're only going to be able to use one or only need to use one. We even tell our students, like, you're already in batch, keep it with batch. If you have something that you're having problems pulling comps in batch, because it does happen when you're nationwide like that, things happen. I don't even know. It's been probably a couple months since I tried to see if I could pull comps anywhere else except for PropStream in Anchorage. I know in Propelio I can't pull props in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Last time I checked, I think I could in Des Moines now. It's honestly these are tools. I kind of know what you have to go through in order to get some of these comps. So it's Jordan. Jordan, I'm just waiting for you to bring wifey and your little mini warriors down here, so we can try to get you to leave that godforsaken land. But let's do it after we just find a way to do a deal there together, because I'm tired of saying 49 states we've done deals in. We haven't marketed there, so I can't really be too irritated about it. We're gonna get one soon, and you'll find out very soon why. So let's just go back into another comp really fast. So I'll show you guys another one really fast, and then I'm probably gonna log off because, like I said, we've got a crucible coming up. I'm gonna go through this one faster, so you better ask your questions. I've got a property, and we'll focus a little bit more on a different tool as we're pulling this up. I haven't focused a whole lot in the past episodes on batch leads. And one of the reasons, you guys, I was struggling and was kind of holding off is because for whatever reason, when I am streaming on this, it goes a tiny bit slower. You can't see the drop down sometimes on batch. The past couple times I've gone live, and I get irritated, and I don't want to do this product a disservice, to be honest with you, because it is a phenomenal tool, but it's really popping today. I think it does have we do have our fiber lines installed, but we aren't quite wired in correctly yet. So we aren't at 100% speed quite yet. I think we should be after this week. We just got this rocking and rolling yesterday, but this is a phenomenal tool here. Okay. So what I'm seeing here is we have this property at 2114 North Pine Street in Wilmington, Delaware. Good condition. Owner's a contractor. City put quite a bit of work in the house. Quite a bit of work. I am not, like, something does not look okay here to me. You guys, why are properties 2,000, 7,000, 18,000, 38,000? This is something that I talk to our students all of the time about. You have to consider those comps. Understand why knowing a market is important. Put yourself in the shoes of the flipper. Put yourself in the shoes of the landlord. You have to analyze these exit strategies. They're vital to you succeeding and running the numbers. When I go to comp, I consider that $7,000 property. Somebody bought it for $7,000. That's what the market is telling me it's worth. Okay, what does my property look like compared to that? Should mine be worth more than that or less than that? That's when you start comping like an appraiser. You know, if these are the only comps that you had and you're dropped in the middle of nowhere, they give you data. It's called multiplication. But I hesitate to say that sometimes to people, and this is why I wanted to go live and start pulling comps so you guys could see how I do it. I'm not gonna pick a $7,000 property that sold at X amount price per square foot and apply that to a completely not comparable property. And people do that all of the time. People don't realize that the higher the square footage, the lower the price per square foot tends to be. So they'll comp a property that's big man on the block and they're the small man on the block. And it's like they're trying to apply the price per square foot incorrectly. You have to take a lot of things into consideration when you're putting numbers on a house, you know? So that being said, if you were just comping something like a traditional realtor, you would still look at these same principles. So, okay, these are one of these things, Wilmington, Delaware. Oh, girl. What do we got here? We've got a property that we need to figure out the street view very quickly. I'm going to do it right from here. These are row houses. So this is one of the things you want to be cognizant of. You do not want to accidentally not comp it with a row house. And a lot of times I get people asking questions on these ones. Hey, RJ, do you want to take that? He probably needs to go outside. We got to let Titus out, guys. Most of y'all are fans of my dog, and you know him. Sorry for those of you who are new here. Probably Sean and Bernard. I have a dog, and he hangs out, and he's whining by the back door. He's an office dog. So this is a really interesting one. When I see something where I am not seeing what I want to see in my little neighborhood, well, I call this again. Titus has been waiting all this time. I know, Angel. Isn't it sad? Good to see you, Bubba. So when I'm comping this and I'm like, ugh, one of these things is not like the other. I want my property to be worth $210,000. And this is close. This is close to me, right? I'm just going to choose this. No, what you've got to do is you have to look at these default settings right here, especially in batch, right? These default settings are the most preset default settings. So you have a 1900 build. You have this within 10 years, okay? You can probably just ignore that. And here's why. When I filter this, I want to see what comes up. Look at that. A 1920 build right here is not going to be valued that much differently. You understand what I'm saying? And now, do I want it to be a 2019 build? Absolutely not. But I want to see what I'm dealing with. And so I start to back out of those. And what do I find? What do we have here? Vandover. Okay, so it's a row house built in 1920. That did not pop up as a comp for me with these default settings. So that's one thing you guys got to be very, very aware of. And this looks like it probably is a flip comp. So I'm going to view the details on it. Ugh, of course it started slowing down. So I'm going to view the details on it. 1550 square feet. I'm going to end up having a highlight batch for you guys like next week when our internet speed is better. It, honest to God, you guys, it works so much better when I'm not streaming. And we'll just do this on prop stream since I kind of did one on Propelio earlier. Why did that do that? Another reason why I love having multiple tools is if one of them is down for the day, I get to feel good. So he's a contractor, bought it in 2018, done quite a bit of work, bought it for $15,000. I'm assuming it's vacant. He says it's in good condition. These are our defaults that we have set right here that come automatic. I'm going to go with like my first 10. They're all right here. Deselect. Remember, this is already sorted in the order of distance, okay? I'm going to assume that's like some kind of tax sale, foreclosure, or whatever. This is my highest. I don't have a lot of substantial evidence. I don't feel good about this situation here. But we're going to see if anything else appears to be in this type of condition. This is clean. A lot of it's updated. But it's not like it's a bajillion dollars worth. I will say I'm so tempted. And this is exactly what I ran into on over here. I'm so tempted to say yes, I want that to be a comp, but I need to do exactly what I just saw over there on batch. So we've got one up here that is active, pending, contingent. So in PropStream, you actually have to go right here to see all of those. I don't love to do that. Goodness me, MLS active. That makes me feel a lot better. Not because 2010. So we do need to look and put in a little bit of a build year here. Let's just go with 1990. Let's see what she does. It's owner occupied. Interesting. That makes me feel pretty good. So again, I kind of took away some of my options. We have one MLS active for 129. It's property number 16. It's not crossing, so that makes me feel good. We've got property number 17. Where are you? That makes me feel pretty good, but are these single family? Let's look at them and see if they're these little row houses. I mean, that makes me feel pretty good. I would like to say I've got 3 comps here that tell me if I make them look like that, we are good to go at like 130. Definitely not gonna comp it with any of these condos, and you can go ahead and remove those. But the thing that you have to be careful about is like you have to look at it's listed as a single family. It's not listed as a row house. It's not listed as a townhouse. It's not listed as a condo right here. So you don't want to accidentally take away a lot of your comps. I mean, I'm seeing kind of the same things on both batch and prop stream, right? So I've kind of verified them both systems. And I don't really want to cross this big road right here because as you guys saw, of course your comps are getting a lot better in that area. So, I've got this property that's active on Market Street. Goodness gracious. I promise I'm going to highlight the heck. What's really funny too, you guys, is I recorded a video pulling comps at Batch's offices at the end of August or beginning of September, I think, when I was there. And I can't remember what happened, but Alex was like, we have to re-record. And I'm like, I got to go to the airport. And we haven't re-recorded it yet. But I mean, it's so much easier to show you guys how to use it when, for whatever reason, we got to get our Viking Wizard a new computer and have this super speed internet come to fruition before the next one. We're going to have to go shopping. The only thing I would do here, other than, with my comps at 130, I would just go in here and try to verify, what do these look like? Why did these sell so much lower? And just make sure you know what that is. This doesn't look too terrible condition, but obviously it's not completed. Was there something going on here? We're missing appliances. It almost looks like it was partially remodeled. Yeah. So halfway down. Oh, yeah. There we go. Halfway down, we probably got some problems down there. So that's like a big factor. You got to consider, do they have covered parking or street parking? So this one I think sold for, what did it say? 38,000. Yeah. Because it was partially remodeled. So you don't have to be super concerned about that. 68 for one. And you just got to go through there and determine those same things. Why did this one only sell for 68? Is it due to location? That's another thing you've got to be super careful with about these row houses. This is an interesting. I think this is the basement. Yeah. So you would have to click on these property details to kind of figure out why that one is sold for less. And you would do that by going right over here. While that pops up, I'll kind of go look at the next one. A multi-family dwelling. Oh, this is going to break my heart. I want to look at that one for later. Multi-family dwelling that sold for $1,200. So that's another thing. If you're planning to list a property that needs, or sell a property or wholesale property that needs repairs, you've got to be cognizant of as is properties, as is comps as well, especially in these price points that are lower. You got to go figure out how much work that needed, because if somebody can easily go pick up a property for what you're trying to sell it for and have less rehab, why are they going to buy yours when they have better options? And then we're kind of starting to get, I think, after this one, to where it's kind of crossing that major street. And that's where you see those prices start going up. Of course, there's this here. Something going on. Kind of tells you good as is comps depending on your condition, if you can look up more photos of that. But owner occupied in good condition, I would say, yeah, you can definitely count on 130 making sense there, selling there, because a fully remodeled property across the street could go for a lot more, and you've got 3 comps on your side of the road. So all right, my darlings, I have a lot to get ready for, a lot of prepping and wonderful things to get done before our new batch of Titans gets in, and get ready for our charity golf tournament. Thank you to Batch for sponsoring our charity golf tournament and coming in and being a part of this. This is the most exciting time of the year. For all of you who are watching, if you are local, get your butts there. Let me give you a hug around the neck and do something good with real estate. Have great community. And if you tune in next week, or if you didn't get a comp in, or you didn't get to catch this live, make sure you shoot me a message. I'm happy to do it. Joey, very good to see you on here. I know that this is something that you are working so hard on, so I'm very happy to do this. And we'll keep comping every Wednesday live at 3 Central Standard Time. I love you guys, and we'll see you next week.